speaks no wisdom, and I won't listen. I'm so consumed by the noise.
All right, today we're sitting down with Carey Fountain, who has done something that was super cool, super creative. Created a 12-month playlist to, I guess, want to like embody a certain message to tell a certain story. Kind of break down to us exactly what this project is, what it means to you, how did it come about? Kind of talk to us about that.
This all kind of came about, it just kind of felt like the natural progression of what I've been doing. I've been trying to figure out what it is that, like where my art is taking me, because I've been into music from the very beginning, and then that kind of led to me being into different forms of art. I think the puzzle motif is something that has always kind of been consistent. In 2023, I wasn't really making as much music, and when I'm not, I realize it's kind of like a self-therapy for me, so when I'm not, I start to feel like depressed. So I told myself for 2024, I wanted to push myself to make a song each month about a theme, because, in my opinion, you got to do things that make you uncomfortable and challenge yourself. And so that's kind of how it started, is I just wanted to put all my focus into making one song every month that related to a theme that may feel distant from my personal life, but still somehow form a connection with that theme.
Okay, cool. Something that you said that you wanted to do something challenging, and this had to be challenging for sure.
Oh yeah.
Each song has its own mood, its own vibe. Each one feels like its own thing, and that's kind of like the idea of it, since each one is kind of focused on a different topic from each month, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, to starting a new school year, July 4th, all of the different things that go around our yearly cycle of life. You were able to capture a specific moment from those time periods.
It became challenging because each month would come up and I'd be like, oh man, I got to do a song this month, what I'm going to do?
So these weren't pre-recorded, this
No.
was in the month.
This was in the month.
Gosh.
Because I wanted it to also be like, feel real to that moment of time.
Okay.
And then the video was a whole nother piece, because there's a few times I'm like, oh, you being too hard on yourself. You ain't got to make a video also. But I had started, and then it kind of, the whole process was just, I guess, committing to something and seeing it through. And then once I kind of like put that pressure on myself, like, hey, you said you're gonna do this. You said this to you made an agreement with yourself that you was gonna do this. Then it just became a thing like, I had to figure something out. I had to do it. I had to put my head down and go at it.
Did you produce the beats behind the songs as well? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you produced the beats,
Yeah.
wrote all the songs,
Yeah.
and then shot the video, because I'm assuming you shot the videos yourself. So you did all of that.
Each month.
Each
and
month.
the clothes. And the
clothing.
Yeah.
Because each month has a specific theme for the clothing as well.
Yeah.
That was a lot to tackle. That was a lot of work. I'm kind of jumping forward, but whenever I do something that's pretty difficult, I get kind of overwhelmed with sadness. Did you face any of that upon completion of this project?
Yeah, there were definitely moments. Yeah, it was definitely it would be overwhelming, but I started to get it down to a process. And that's why, like, the clothing designs and the beats and the song would all kind of come at the same time. So a lot of times what I would do is, it would more, like, sometimes the stuff would be late. I wouldn't put a song out until sometimes the very end of the month, or sometimes the next month. I mean, I also didn't want to just throw anything together. I didn't want it to be half complete. So it kind of feel like it was a lot of trusting. There was a lot of trust in myself. And I learned a lot through that. And it gave me a lot more confidence about just believing in myself. Because ultimately, sometimes that's what it would come down to. I'd be like, I don't really know, but, I'm going to do it. Like the Echoes of the East song in May, that was tough because I wanted to make something authentic, but I also didn't want to make something appropriative. I didn't want to appropriate a culture. Right. So that was the first time I had a real conversation with myself. I'm like, well, the only way you can talk about like Asian culture is through the lens of being a black person. And then I started doing research about different activists in Asian communities and started thinking about the similarities, and then that made it easy and more approachable, you know?
Yeah, because the Asian and Black community share a lot of similarities, and a lot of both parties have adapted a lot of the other parties' kind of culture and I won't say beliefs, but kind of enjoyments or activities of enjoyment. I mean, even down to cooking, you know, a lot of things we share in common. I was listening to a guy of Asian culture a couple of, maybe like earlier this week or last week, talk about once the Black community and the Asian community realize we have the same oppressor, you know, then true change can begin. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think, and I never really thought about it from this perspective until making the song.
Okay.
And also kind of realizing that, you know, when you look at Asian culture and you look at, you know, Black people as well, I think we're one of the minorities that people can look at from far away and say, okay, that's a Black person, that's an Asian person.
Right.
And then there's so much cultural contributions that we both have given to American society that gets overlooked.
For sure.
And we all kind of we all walk in our truth. And, you know, you see a lot of, I mean, recently too, I mean, there was different, there's been a lot of cases throughout history of discrimination and racism and hate crimes against Asian communities. And I think, you know, when you kind of put it into perspective of also the similarities that, you know, the various things that we've seen within the Black community over the years, it gets very real that a quote unquote minority, which I also think is a funny word, because when you look at the global world in general, when you look at global society, there's really, you know, really white people are the minority.
Yeah.
And it just made me kind of think about the unity amongst races.